before we sat down for this talk, we were listening to Wyatt Waddell.
Incredible.
You put us on. I first got hip to him on your Instagram. People don't know this, but I look at Instagram through the podcast because they don't let me on Instagram.
Yeah.
But through the podcast Instagram, I was able to see.
Damn, I was telling C-Sick, I was like, man, as much as I should talk shit, I kind of miss Kweli.
Listen, bro, I'm trying to tell you, bro.
Man.
Y'all needed me. Y'all needed me. Y'all just didn't know y'all needed me.
We needed
Everybody
you.
who said get off the internet, now y'all like, man, I wish I had Kweli here to talk
I was
shit.
definitely one of those friends that call you sometimes like, bro, what is going on, bro?
Yo, D-Ray Davis said, ain't it a bitch that everything niggas told you to stop doing is how niggas get paid now on the internet?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But that's the unfortunate, that's the position that we're in.
Yeah, they kicked me off and got me out the way so all these
So everybody else
ignorant
can
niggas
make
can
money.
get paid.
Yeah. There's you don't get no points. You don't get no money being first.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Somebody right behind you, you'd be like, I just did that. That's crazy as fuck.
Right. But especially when I see these podcasts, it's like a lot of goofy shit. Niggas arguing on podcasts and having fights in the podcasts and talking about the grievances they have with each other.
Yeah.
I'm like, that was me on Twitter just against the system.
The only difference is like you're actually well read, and you have a real international perspective because you really travel, and have respect for many different cultures and walks of life.
Right. We induct in Morocco.
Yeah, a lot of people don't have that though.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that when I was telling that to C-Sick, I think that's what we really miss is the fact that having an opposing opinion or a controversial opinion nowadays, it gets you a lot of bread. People do it just to do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the problem is that most people don't care to actually study or read enough or don't have enough lived experience to actually, number one, sound intelligent or have a perspective that they can actually defend.
I just wrote an essay about this, about the pitfalls of being a contrarian and how being a contrarian is a straight line to not just narcissism, but really to fascism. Because if your entire identity is based on, I'm going to take a contrary position, then you're going to end up siding with people who are wrong. And you're going to end up siding with dictators and people who want to have authority over human beings because at this point you just want to be right about something. And you want to be right about something, or not even be right. You want to feel like you're right about something more than you want to help create a solution for a problem. And when that happens, this is why you're just a disruptor without having a cause to disrupt. This is why the James Dean of it all with white societies, it's like these motherfuckers just want to rebel against their parents for no reason. They just want to be contrary. It's not really based in anything. It's not based in actual beliefs or actual solutions. And that's a real big part of the problem. Yeah. Well, I mean, I got off track. I was asking you about the guitar dude.
Wyatt. So Wyatt is a 29-year-old brother from Chicago who's an exceptional singer, songwriter, producer, musician. I actually, you was joking with me earlier, but my new passion for the last 4 or 5 years is smoking cigars. And I smoke cigars all the time with an artist named Devin Morrison. He'll come by the house because he lives close, who's another incredible R&B artist, Devin Morrison, and producer. But he'll come by the house mostly because he's bumming cigars off me. but one day he was like, man, have you seen this kid on TikTok? Not a kid, but a young man. He's like, man, you got to check this dude out. And he showed me this. He was doing, I thought it was really smart. At first I thought it was a real strategy. He was on TikTok singing songs like 20 seconds of the song all the time and kind of alluding to it coming out, but he didn't have anything on DSPs or on the internet. So I was like, wow, who the fuck is this guy? He was a song called Should Have Stayed Home, and it was just the texture of the music, man. Like he had just acoustic versions of it, or he'd be with his musician friends, and I just went crazy, completely fell in love with the music, and began the process of trying to figure out how can I get a hold of this dude. Fast forward, I'm telling the story fast, but fast forward, he put out a song that he was a feature on with a group called Patchwork Inc. Patchwork Inc. is a loose collective. This guy named Blake Ryan, who's a musician, producer from Chicago as well. He's Duran I forget what's in the Indications. He's in the group, the Indications, and he started this collective, which I can only really describe kind of like how Salt or like Soul to Soul is, or whatever. It's a collective of artists, but it's always different featured vocals on the lead. And this song with Wyatt was crazy. I was like, man, he's got to know who Wyatt is. Got to have connections to him, obviously, because he's on the song. So when I reached out to Blake, because I do A&R at Empire currently too. Yeah. So I reached out to Blake, like, man, what are you guys doing? They had put out a record through his independent label called Coal Mine Records out of Loveland, Ohio, who is an incredible. They do mostly vinyl, but they do like all these, I guess, retro soul type records that
they
are really into.
Once they put out
Yeah.
I spoke to the Coal Mine dudes because Yassine likes and we were trying to find the original singer, and they put out that record and we tracked them down.
Yeah. So it's a great something. Family owned business from Loveland, Ohio. They own a record shop too called Plaid Room Records. They do a great record digging day or whatever. They just had it this weekend. But I asked him, I was like, bro, do you know Wyatt Waddell? Because I've been trying to reach him for like 5-6 months now. I'm leaving messages on TikTok and shit. He's not really responding. He don't know who the fuck I am. So Blake was like, yeah, no problem. I'll connect you guys. He connected me and Wyatt, and we just connected instantly. He's like, bro, I wouldn't mind having you work with me if you're open to it. I was like, I thought you'd never ask.
Man.
And we signed him to Empire. I manage him. He just put out his record. It's called The Understudy. It's a 12-song album that's completely produced and written by him and some of the musicians that he works with. And The Understudy is a perfect name for the album because when you hear his music, for people that know music, you go, it's coated with all these influences, and he told me a story.
It's Black American music.
It's literally Black American
It's blues,
music.
It's rock and roll.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of funk and soul in there.
Yeah.
And it's these Midwest cats, man, the Black Midwest has not let go of rock and roll in the way that a lot of people
at
have.
all.
From Band Called Deaf to this guy. Where's Mono Neon from? Anybody know?
I don't know where he's from, but he cold as hell.
Yeah. I wonder if he's from the Midwest.
That's a brother
too.
be having crazy ass outfits. Play bass, right?
Yeah.
One of my homegirls, Frankie Doo-Wop, got a track with him. That boy cold.
He's crazy.
But he's a a classic singer-songwriter style, and it's refreshing to hear.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of that, man. I feel like me and Tyler, the Creator, always go back and forth about this. Like the tide is actually changing to where there's been such a oversaturation of certain types of Black music or hip hop in particular that people are now, I think, are more opened up to a more a form of Black music that focuses more on musicianship and how you write the lyrics and a certain song structure.
Are we ready to address the fact that hip hop is adult contemporary music for people our age, and there's people who go out to clubs and go out to parties? It's not like the cutting edge like it used to be.
Yeah, well, it's crazy. I think it always has been to a certain degree. The first word in hip hop is hip, and I think you almost have to be young to be hip per se. So it's always going to be a contingency or a section of hip hop that people our age don't really understand. Yeah, hip hop has definitely evolved. I worked with an artist named Playboy Cardi early in his career that people, now is kind of the norm in terms of like what we consider to be hip hop, but it's morphed. Yeah, I think certain forms of hip hop which are sample based, which concentrates on a 4/4 time scale, like rhyming around the snare and shit like that. Maybe that can be considered or sounds like to most younger people something that's adult contemporary. But think about it when we were coming up. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there were certain groups that definitely that felt older than us. Like, you know what I'm saying? And more mature to the point where we're learning from the things that they're putting in the music. And then the sound of the music sometimes was almost like, okay. And it helped elevate us in terms of like our appreciation for music. Yeah. But it definitely was not something that was contemporary to us.
Well, I think about the conversation around people was mad at Yachty because he was making fun of the Sugar Hill Gang. Yeah. He was like, they say what I say is nonsense, but hip, that shit sound crazy to me. Right?
Of course it does.
Right, because you had to kind of be there and be outside to understand why that was cutting edge and revolutionary at the time.
Or the lineage of that particular style of MCing.
And it reminds me of the Rhyme and Reason documentary. And there's a scene when Method Man, this documentary comes out in 94. Right. And so at the time, the cutting edge was big, and Wu-Tang and these is like young, just barely fresh out of teenage age, right? You know what I'm saying? Right. And Method Man said, yo, they had a book, you know what I'm saying, where they try to have the hip hop slang in the book, and they had words in there like deaf and fresh, and we don't even be saying them words no more. You walk up to a nigga nowadays talking about, yo, I'm chilling the fresh way, the nigga gonna look at you like he crazy. Yeah. And in retrospect, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It was true.
What KRS says 50 years down the line, don't start this because we'll be the old school artists. It's like, you gonna have your time to be cutting edge, and you gonna have your time to not be cutting edge.
Yeah, man.
And then when you're not cutting edge, you become part of the mainstream culture.
Bro, I remember me and Khalil were like 23 when we got that development deal with Loud. Mm-hmm. And we were recording our demo at Ice-T's house. Mm-hmm. Ice-T, who was a legend by any, and probably
that's right,
one of the eldest members of the hip hop community. I think Ice might be, I'm 53, Ice got to be 67, 68. Mm-hmm. And he's been around for a long time. One of the longest, most successful.
No, he was
careers.
breaking and breaking.
Bro, he's one of the longest.
Down by law.
He was damn near 30 in
breaking, right?
You know what I'm saying? He was in his late 20s already. Right. So he said to us, he was like, I'm excited about the opportunity and shit. And we're talking about, he's like, how old are you? I was like, I'm 23. He was like, ah. It was like a look of disappointment. I'm like, what? It was like, what's up with that? And he was like, honestly, he's like, you kind of right outside of the sphere of influence for hip hop. And I was like, what you mean, nigga? I'm out here. I'm going back and forth to New York and I'm going to clubs and shit. I'm thinking I'm in it. And he's like, yeah. He's like, but honestly, like the people that are responsible for making the decisions about where this shit is actually going are 5-6 years younger than you. He's like, hip hop is a young man's sport. He was the first person to really tell me that or get me to understand that. Like, oh shit, no, it really is. And this is somebody who's, 14 years older than me.
Yeah, man. To that point, you mentioned that you discovered this artist on TikTok. I don't remember which executive it was because this was a number of years ago. I went to have a meeting with a record executive who was an A&R. And he said, man, my job is easy now. I just scroll through TikTok. Yeah. And whatever's cracking on TikTok is what I bring to my bosses and be like, this is what's cracking on TikTok. Yeah. Is that accurate?
It's accurate to an extent. Like it's not accurate for me per se. I still discover artists technically I found out through another artist.
Okay.
But he told me, but he showed me. So it wasn't like I scrolled. I did some research after the fact, like who is this guy? Is he personable? Is he charismatic? Because you start trying to plug in all the other variables that make an artist. But I was like, I heard about it, and most of the time, the things that I'm into, I hear about from other artists still. But there are it's changed. Great, man. Listen, they got whole research departments. I have an A&R call that I'm on once a week, actually twice a week, with Empire, and we start the meetings with the research department. In the research department, a young brother named Elijah, who's brilliant. He's ridiculous. He's a beast when it comes to data. So he searches. They have these programs now that kind of give you the highlights of the data from each of the individual social media platforms and what's spiking. So it's his personal taste combined with data that determines who he present in the A&R. And at first I was like, man, what is this shit, bro? Data. I'm like, research department at first as an older person, one of the oldest A&Rs on the team. I'm like, I don't know if I want to hear this shit. But then I really began to understand, it's just like AI. So AI is a compilation of these keywords and intelligence from people like yourself trying to troubleshoot or find a solution for something, right? But it still relies on the intelligence of Talib Kweli in order to regurgitate or give you a suggestion or figure out something. Somebody had to actually write a document or put a document together in order for them to give you the structure that they provide through AI. So there's still a considerable amount of natural intelligence.
Yeah, that's why robots are going to be racist in the future. Because
people are racist. Because people are racist, bro. So but my point is there's still a degree of natural intelligence in combination with data that informs people even in research departments. But to answer your question, it's over.
It's over. The long story short, it's over.
It's over.
It's over now. Corrupt said.
If I hadn't discovered the brother, within 2 months, somebody would have brought him up. This guy's spiking on social media. Wyatt Waddell, Damn. But Wyatt's incredible. He's, people say Stevie Wonder, the Beatles, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, classic groups that and that's why his album's called The Understudy, because he regurgitates and represents represents all those nuances without sounding on the nose. It's like it's still something new and contemporary, but it's like it feels like some shit you heard before.
Yeah, like putting on a jacket or a shirt that you remind you of your childhood.
A good vintage shirt.
Yeah.
Man, I remember I couldn't afford this polo when it first came out.
Yeah,
but I got it now.
I got it now.
Yeah.
Which side are you